All right, everybody, welcome to BO Boys for Monday, November 25th. Fuck it, it's a raw feed. We're doing it live. I'm Clayton.
Yeah, I'm Pat. Clayton, huge weekend. Biggest pre Thanksgiving weekend since 2019, since the famous Frozen 2 weekend. GLICKED is here. GLICKED dominated. The theaters are so happy that GLICKED exists. So, could you give us
Well,
a.
quickly, so you believe in
Yes,
GLICKED. You believe in GLICKED. GLICKED
I believe in
exists.
GLICKED. GLICKED
Good.
exists. GLICKED is real. GLICKED is inside of all of us, I think. GLICKED is outside of all of us. GLICKED is in everything we eat. GLICKED is in the air.
Mm-hmm.
GLICKED is in our dreams and is real. All hail GLICKED. So, Clayton, could you give us a GLICKED exists plow for the box office weekend of Friday, November 22nd?
Number one, Wicked made $114 million in its first weekend. Number two, Gladiator 2 made $55.5 million in its opening weekend. Number three, Red One made $13.2 million, down 59% in its second weekend. It's at $52.9 million. And here's the real shocker of the weekend.
Mm-hmm.
Number four, a newbie, Bonhoeffer, pastor,
Mm-hmm.
spy, assassin from Angel Studios, getting their mojo back with $5 million in only 1,900 theaters. Uh, this is its first weekend. Number five, Venom the Last Dance made $3.8 million, down 47%. It hemorrhaged theaters, 863 theaters lost. It's at $133.7 million in its fifth weekend. Pat, that is your top five. And I think we do have to start with the big story, which is Bonhoeffer.
Yes, let's start with Bonhoeffer. And you said no one saw this coming. And actually, I think there was someone who saw this coming. That was the guest on our weekend preview episode, Micah McCaw. He mentioned that this was the movie that his mother wanted to see. And he
Mm-hmm.
gave us a want to get nuts, let's get nuts prediction. He had this in his top five. In fact, he just emailed us from Micah. Holy cow, Bonhoeffer surpassed my want to get nuts prediction, leaping to fourth, making 5 million. Do not underestimate the movies my mom wants to see. So thank you, Micah. Of course, everyone pick up his album and his concert film and all his products. Get everything because he predicted this correctly. If he hadn't predicted Bonhoeffer in the top five, I would say stop buying stuff from Micah. But he
Yes,
nailed it.
we
So
were going to
Clay,
say that. We were going to say, I was all ready to say that. I was all ready
yes,
to say that. And then
yes.
I looked on Saturday, I saw this Bonhoeffer number, and I was like, here we go. I guess we can't boycott this gentleman's fine work.
Yeah. So Angel Studios, huge win. I hadn't been keeping track of this movie in the lead up. It's about apparently in the 40s, a theologian who stood up to the Nazis during the Third Reich. That is the log line of Bonhoeffer. There is controversy about this film, Clayton. Apparently, the relatives of this Bonhoeffer, who was a real person, he's saying that Angel Studios and the people produced this. They skewed his story. Bonhoeffer never really used a gun. They're saying it's promotes white nationalism. I don't know, all this stuff. There's controversy going on. Do you think the controversy fueled the ticket sales, or was it just people wanted to see this pastor with a gun who's a spy?
Well, it's Angel Studios, so they thrive on controversy, they thrive on scams.
Yep.
So, I mean, any sort of controversy for them is good, it feels like.
Mm-hmm.
I do think that there was, I was gonna say a lack of church bus movies, but the Greatest Christmas Pageant is
Number
out
six. Yep.
and doing well for its budget and its scope.
Yeah, but
So
there's a lack of church bus movies that don't feature the noxious presence of Peter Holmes, and that's
true,
what
yeah,
Bonhoeffer fills.
yeah,
Bonhoeffer has a lot of things. It has depictions of Nazis, doesn't have the noxious presence of Peter Holmes. So that's a need that had to be filled.
hmm yeah, yeah. I mean, listen, there might be life after scams for Angel Studios. Now, listen, five is
Mm-hmm.
not 114. Five is not 55 million. I mean,
No, it's
it's
not.
Bonhoeffer. You don't have to try and squeeze it into the GLICKED meme name all of a
Right,
sudden.
right.
You don't have to be like Bon GLICKED
GLICKED
offer.
offer. It's not that
Yeah.
weekend. It is just GLICKED. Yeah.
Yeah. GLICKED offer though is a pretty good one.
Yeah. It's a great
GLICKED
coupon
offer.
name. Yeah.
Yeah.
GLICKED offer. It's a great headline for a coupon for sure.
Yeah. So I think that uh this movie is doing what it's doing because, like you said, lack of church bus movies.
Mm-hmm.
And that's good. I mean, $5 million is nothing to sneeze at here.
No, no. Angel Studios will be able to put that to use however Angel Studios puts their money to use. They've now got $5 million of Bonhoeffer money that they could use on whatever it is at Angel Studios, how they
Whatever.
divvy up their money, whatever. So
Whatever.
big weekend for Bonhoeffer. I do want to, I mean, we're going to get into GLICKED. Just because we were talking about this one off mic, you had just seen Conclave. I had seen it last week, really liked it. You said you really liked it. Dropped out of the top 10. It lost 1,364 theaters this weekend. It's a 28.9 million. That one feels like it maybe has stalled out, and that's a big loss of theaters. Over 1,600 theaters in its fifth weekend. It's a lot of theaters. So we were hoping that would be a movie. That would be the Oscar movie that sort of catches on to get to 40 or 50 million. It's not feeling that now.
But Pat, here's the thing. It already made $28 million. This movie about bishops gossiping. I mean, I just saw this. I loved it.
Mm-hmm.
And the person I went with loved it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that this is a story of 28.9 million for this movie is nothing to sneeze at.
Oh,
it's these theaters have to make way for these big holiday movies. This movie will come back in Oscar season. It is not dead. It is a movie that is going to get Oscar noms. It's going to get a re-release. It is going to be a movie that is going to be in the theaters for Oscar season, I do believe. I just think so.
But will Conclave be on the cock in the next month? You know, it's a Focus Features
Well, it's
release.
Focus
Features that funnels up to Universal, funnels up to Comcast, funnels up to Peacock. So we want
Conclave on the
to be a
cock.
movie that plays through the Oscars, but yeah, will Conclave be on the cock soon? These gossipy bishops, they're going to be on the cock for Christmas. That's just what's going to happen.
Yeah, I do. It's you don't want to see another. What was the movie we always talk about? That Focus really bungled the holdovers.
They bungled the holdovers, but holdovers got nowhere near what Conclave did.
True. Season. I think you just have to add 5 extra minutes of papal gossiping to this and re-release it in theaters. Okay. With even more gossiping.
Okay. That could be. I mean, listen, I would love to see that. I would love to see, best case is Conclave. It gets some PVOD soon. It's on the cock for Christmas. Then you get the extended gossip cut in January, February, leading into the Oscars.
But Pat, I mean, honestly, like, what do you expect this thing to break out at? 40? Like, what did you think? I mean, what's the possibility of breakout for these things?
The hope was 40. 40.
But this isn't everything everywhere all at once with fucking flying dildos and bullshit that people can grab onto.
Well,
like this,
no, try and be no spoilers, but I guess sure, spoil that. There are no flying dildos or hot dog fingers in Conclave. So sure, we've spoiled that now.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's the thing is like, what was your ceiling for this movie?
No, 40. 40 would have been great. 40 would have been a nice level. I think this loss of theaters means Conclave doesn't get to 40. Maybe the extended gossip cut, or maybe they get some flying dildos in there that were on the cutting room floor for February. But we'll see. But no, definitely a good number for Conclave. I mean, other than the big, one last GLICKED thing I want to raise. Of course, this red one. Second weekend, 59% drop. Looks like no theater change. I think that'll be coming this Wednesday with Moana. I think there will be a theater change for Red One on Wednesday. But 59% drop, it's not Morbius. You know,
No,
it could,
this
and
is
it could have been. It could have been a Morbius drop. This could have been 70%, and it was not. So, what are you thinking? Is
I
this
mean,
stabilizing?
no, I mean it's going to eat dirt next weekend,
Okay.
but this is relatively not terrible
Mm-hmm.
for this movie. Like I would have expected a way bigger drop
Yeah.
for this. So congratulations on that. 52.9 at this point in its run. Not good. I mean, this is a flop. I know everybody, listen, Anthony D is for The Rock
Mm-hmm.
Johnson. Loves himself some rock, says this is all gravy. Amazon doesn't have to worry about the same things that other studios have to worry about, blah, 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 yakety schmackety. That at the end of the day, nobody wanted, I mean, not nobody wanted to see this, but the amount of people that wanted to see this was very minimal,
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
and
52 million, this should have been lower than what the opening weekend of Red One was. Red One should have opened bigger than its full 10-day total is right now.
yeah, and then after this, I mean, you're gonna have kids out of school, so you're gonna have more people going to Wicked. You're gonna have more people going to Gladiator 2. You're gonna have so many people going to Moana 2. This thing's
Mm-hmm.
gonna get lost in the shuffle. I mean, the end total on this is probably gonna be in the 70s for a $250 million budget. Sorry. I know Amazon can eat it because they sell toilet paper by the fucking, ton, but still, it's not. We're talking theatrical here. We're talking about theatrical dollars. We're talking about keeping the lights on in the theater. And for a tentpole Christmas action comedy with these two stars, it ain't good enough.
It ain't good enough. I mean, you talk about Anthony D is for covering up for Dirac D'Alessandro.
Mm-hmm.
Just today, in one of his articles, he mentioned that if Amazon even covers its marketing spend with the theatrical money, it's happy. So now it's not even about touching the production costs. It's as if, you know what, if we put it in theaters and it makes enough to cover the marketing, we're happy. Now, on one hand, though, that is still good for theaters because in the end, Netflix doesn't put this in a movie theater.
Yeah.
Apple is moving towards not putting this in a movie theater.
Yeah. Yeah.
So Amazon MGM, we got to at least give it up for them. They put this in the movie theater. They didn't just put it next to the toilet paper. They put it in the
Absolutely.
theaters.
Absolutely. I agree. I mean, listen, Netflix is the true enemy. They are the
Yes.
devil. They
Yep.
are evil to the core.
Yep.
And so I don't want to put Amazon in the same space as them. And with, this exception, because Red One is a terrible movie, it's a terrible product. I'm not going to put them with, crapple TV pus and
Mm-hmm.
their terrible churn out of absolute crap.
We can't spend a lot of time on it, but we should note because it was announced this weekend. I sent you the link.
Wolves too.
Wolves 2 production has been halted on Wolves 2. It does not look like it's happening. The director of Wolves 2 said that is not moving forward.
Well,
So the
Pat,
much ballyhooed
he
Wolves
didn't just
2
say
is not
that.
happening.
He said he doesn't trust Crapple, my apologies, as a creative partner anymore.
Wow.
That is damning. And listen, it's John Watt. This isn't Scorsese saying this.
Right.
But still,
Right.
when somebody says, I don't trust
I
them,
don't trust them.
I don't trust them.
Yeah.
That is damning.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because it isn't like, well, they didn't put enough advertising. They didn't like, he said, I don't trust them creatively. I don't trust them.
Don't trust them. That is damning. Crapple TV Plus is no longer trusted by the director of the recent Spider-Man trilogy.
Mm-hmm.
So that is a tough spot to be in. Wolves 2 is not happening. So yeah, Red One, it could have done worse second weekend. So I guess good on it for not doing a Morbius drop. But it's about to get rough for this Red One. But let's get
that's
into
the
it.
bar of success. If not dropping, well, listen, we did sort of replace Morbius with Folia Doo-Doo. So it didn't do a Folia Doo-Doo.
It did not do a Folia Doo-Doo. So, I mean, luckily, if Red One has something going for it, unlike Folia Doo, it does not have the noxious presence of Tim Dillon in it. So that probably is the difference between the Red One drop and the Folia Doo second weekend drop.
Mm-hmm,
So
mm-hmm.
smart move by The Rock. I guess not putting him in the well, you couldn't put him in the Santa Claus part because then you would have had different kind of Santa Claus. So let's get into GLICKED. Now, have you seen either of these films? Because I have seen half of GLICKED up to this point. I will see the other half of GLICKED on Wednesday. I saw Gladiator 2, so why don't we start there? Have you seen this? Have you seen Gladiator 2? Have you seen this guy?
No, but what did I say? I said 59, and this was 55.
You I think got the closest. I think myself and Micah both went higher. I think listen, on the last episode, people knew what I was doing. I was just giving the Barbenheimer numbers as my predictions.
Yeah, everybody
And I
that.
was being cheeky. I was having a laugh. But
Taking a piss.
I was taking a piss. But Gladiator 2, $55 million opening weekend.
Dude,
it's
that's
in the
good.
range. It's good. It's good. It's good.
I mean, this thing could have crapped out at 25.
Yes, 100%.
From the trailer, from all the stuff that you saw with this movie, other than Denzel looking like he's having a fun ass time, to me, this is a movie that absolutely could have opened at like 25 to 30.
Yes. Listen, having seen it now, I am ready to give the majority of the credit for this $55 million to Denzel. And I think there is a version of this movie where they don't go with someone as beloved and exciting as Denzel in that part. And it is the non-entity that is Paul Mescal with some other actor. And this movie does Pompeii numbers. This movie gets a little bit of the fumes of, hey, I remember I liked Gladiator 20 years ago. But if it's not for Denzel, there is no real reason to go see this movie. Mm-hmm. And I think there is a Denzel-less version of Gladiator 2 that I totally agree, opens in the 20s.
And Pedro Pascal, I mean, I know, listen, he's an internet darling, but thirst tweets aren't ticks.
Thirst tweets are
people didn't, I mean, the number of people who saw this for Pedro Pascal is lower than the amount who saw it for Denzel. Like, if we're being honest, and for Ridley Scott, I think, and the fact that it's an IP that they know, like, people love him. He's the daddy or whatever you want to say.
Yes. Daddy, yes.
Yeah, or whatever you want to say, which is great. And we like him. He's so talented. He's great SNL host.
Yes.
And that goes far.
Yes,
but
had a great show.
Is he butts in the seats for the general audience? No, they don't. I mean, they might know him from the Star Wars bullshit on Disney Plus, but this guy ain't bringing the boys and girls to the yard as much as the internet wants to give him credit for.
Yeah. This is.
But I will say, listen, he's like a Karen Gillan. He doesn't pee where he's not supposed to pee. 100%. To our knowledge.
100%. 100%. Wannabe boy Jason emailed us last week praising Karen Gillan. You push back on it. And I think Pedro's in that same boat of a value add who shows up on time, does the work, hits the marks, pees in the bathroom. And you can't undervalue that. But, and I'm sure there was some amount, I do think some amount of the female traffic for Gladiator 2 is he's my internet zaddy, go see Pedro. And that sold some tickets, but it was the IP to the extent that this, and this is not a sure thing IP because in the end, it's one movie that did well 20 years ago.
Yeah.
And this movie doesn't have the star of that movie. So the IP on this is not a slam doink. Ridley Scott coming back for all of the failures he's had the last few years. There's also a version of this where he doesn't come back and they make it anyway. And the IP is even less valuable. If you can at least say it's the same guy who directed the first one.
Yeah.
But really now having seen this, here's what I'm going to throw out there. This movie, Paul Mescal's biggest movie yet, right? He did the streaming show. He's in indie movies.
It's not even close.
Now he's, of course, $55 million. You would say, man, star-making vehicle. Having seen this, just movie starness. I'm not going to grade his acting. We're not critics, huh?
Huh?
But I think this is a star-crushing vehicle for Paul Mescal, because you go see this movie and he gets eaten alive on screen by Denzel, to the point where I could only see coming out of this movie and thinking, what was that guy doing up there? What was that guy doing up there?
You,
I think this is the type of performance, and especially side by side with Denzel, where if you're a studio exec, you gotta shake your head and say, what am I supposed to do with him going forward?
I mean, it's hard because I have not seen this performance, and you were already low on this gentleman before you went in. It is hard. Listen, I'm by no means going to say that you are biased. All right, I'm not going to paint you with that brush,
Do not.
but you went in expecting him to not be good. You went in expecting him to be a charisma vacuum, to be a total zilch, to be a
I was not
zero, to be
prepared
the
for this.
male
I was not prepared for this.
Dakota Johnson, your
That
other zilch.
comparing her to Dakota Johnson only came after I saw this film, because we tweeted that after I saw it, that basically he is male Dakota Johnson. But that is not how I went into this. Going into this, Paul Mescal was a blank slate for me. I never watched the Normal People show. I saw All of Us Strangers and I didn't cry, which I was expecting to cry, and they didn't get me there. It's not just his fault. Maybe it's my fault. Who knows? But
It's your fault.
I was a blank slate when it came to him going into this. Coming out of it, yes, he is the male Dakota Johnson. He is a complete
Damning.
zilch. And you put him up against Denzel Washington, it's going to be a problem. The more people who see this Gladiator 2 is a bigger problem for Paul Mescal than if no one saw it.
So you think this movie would be better for his prospects if it would have opened to 25 to 35
If it went
and
straight
disappeared?
to Crackle, if it went straight to, some kind of service that you could only get on the Lego My Ego website, and few people saw it, that would be better for Paul Mescal than to have millions of people see him get his breakfast, his lunch, and his dinner eaten on screen to this degree by Denzel.
But it's sort of unfair. Okay, listen, it's sort of unfair because Denzel Washington is one of the greatest actors
Yes.
and a forever star.
Mm-hmm.
And his part in this is the scenery chewing part. Paul Mescal has to do the heavy lifting of being the gladiator, being the center of this. He doesn't get to have as much fun as Denzel does, and deservedly so. Denzel deserves to have fun on screen. We love to see him have fun. We love to see him eat scenery. So he, as a great actor and as a presence that people love, he does have an easier job here than Paul does, right? And Paul has to fill Russell Crowe's swollen-footed sandals here.
Right.
Well,
his old sandals were not swollen-footed. Russell Crowe's original Gladiator sandals were muscular foot-size sandals.
True.
But
his new diabetic ravaged sandal size shoes would be way harder to fill for Paul Mescal.
100%. But I mean, you said it right there. Russell Crowe, first Gladiator movie, he was the breakout. He won Best Actor for that part. He made that a electrifying part in a way that Paul Mescal doesn't. Going then just to the box office prospects of this, having seen it, I do think that is going to be an issue for this movie going forward, is that getting away from whether Paul Mescal's a zilch or not, where his career is going, this movie is structured so that Denzel Washington, who is not the gladiator, who is not the one you're supposed to be rooting for, is by far the most interesting, rootable thing in the movie, not the gladiator. And I sat in an auditorium where people did not give an F, and I'll people know what that means. Did not give an F about the plight of this gladiator, and I think that becomes a problem for the post first weekend run of a gladiator movie where no one gives an F about the gladiator.
Yeah. Yeah, that is bad. That is bad. Now, Denzel, who he plays the Emperor in this?
I don't want to spoil it. He's not the Emperor. He's a guy. He's basically a manager of gladiators. So I mean that's when you meet him, that's what he is. He manages gladiators.
Okay.
He's in some ways not the Vince McMahon of gladiators.
Who's the guy who manages LeBron and all them? Or is he like Scooter Braun? Is he like Scooter Braun, the guy who managed Bieber and Taylor Swift until
that's the thing.
She turned everybody against him for whatever reason.
Yes, that right there is, I think, the problem going forward of Gladiator 2, in that Gladiator 2 is structured around Denzel Washington as the Scooter Braun of gladiators. And in this film, Scooter Braun is the most charismatic, is the most likable, is to an audience should be the hero.
Mm-hmm.
But then instead you got Paul Mescal as, I guess, like the Taylor Swift, except if no one cared about Taylor Swift. And that is the problem. It's going to be hard second weekend for people to recommend this Gladiator movie where the most interesting character is basically the Scooter Braun.
Well, see, now you're selling me on this movie because I am famously a guy who only will listen to the SB versions of the Taylor Swift albums. Yeah. SB versions for me only. But I mean, you're saying this is a worse Taylor Swift. Like Paul Mescal's character is a worse Taylor Swift.
Put aside
which I'm having a hard time imagining.
But put aside your personal. You understand that in the universe we live in, Taylor Swift is a very popular figure who millions of people pay money to see.
Yes.
So that is
absolutely
the concept. And in this world, this reality we live in, Scooter Braun is a reviled figure who was also not very charismatic and doesn't have personal fans, you aside.
Uh-huh.
So
now I'm only a fan of his management style, not any. He probably has done scummy things. I don't want somebody to email and be like, Scooter Braun did this. I'm just talking about his business maneuvers.
Sure,
I'm a fan of his personal life. I don't know about, do not want to know about. I'm sure he's a monster. They're all monsters. They're all monsters, every single one of them. But I'm talking about his business practices. I'm a fan of.
When someone inevitably clips this audio of you, they won't use that disclaimer. So just so you understand, they're just going to clip the part where you say you are a fan of Scooter Braun.
VP of Interns Christopher, have this part where I am explaining ready to go for the media so that they can get the full context. And I know that it will get no traction, but still, that is part of your job, which you do excellently and for free. So please do that. Thank you. Right now. Do it right now. Stop the recording and do it right now.
So you understand, though, how that is a problem for this Gladiator 2 movie, that Denzel is basically playing a charismatic, heroic Scooter Braun.
Yeah.
And Paul Mescal is playing a version of Taylor Swift that has no fan base or popularity.
Mm-hmm.
And that is what they're selling in theaters. And I do think once you get that, I went to a showing of this, packed showing, and people leave kind of bummed. And I'll just leave it at that. So, that's not where you leave the first Gladiator. I mean, you leave the first Gladiator, of course, I guess somewhat upset what happens to Russell Crowe. But people leave that pumped up, and that is not what I think people are leaving Gladiator 2 as, and that's a problem going forward for a male-led action movie.
Mm-hmm.
That it's the wrong hero. The hero shouldn't have been the Scooter Braun character.
Yeah, true. I mean, yes, to become a massive hit, that's probably true.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll have to see how this holds on. I mean, it is an adult film compared to the other two films that are probably going to be doing Bobo over the Thanksgiving season, which is Moana
Yep.
2, which hasn't released yet, and Wicked, which let's talk about Wicked, 117. Not as high
Yeah.
as we thought or Kirk said, but,
But but
I think we fell into the trap of we thought everybody would be free to run to this movie this weekend. I think there were people who were waiting for the holiday weekend for this, right? I mean,
yeah.
we are able to go see movies pretty much whenever we want because of our lot in life, and we
Yes.
earned it. I
Totally
mean,
agree.
this is not privilege; this is earned, and
Yes.
so we have earned the ability to do that. But not everybody has that ability. So this 117 is great, and it's a record. I mean, this movie broke so many records, but I think it's just going to do so well over this holiday weekend when everybody's out of school, everybody wants to be entertained, to
Mm-hmm.
paraphrase Gladiator, the original. No,
Mm-hmm.
do they say let's get entertained in Gladiator 2?
I could tell you they do not say the phrase "let's get entertained" in Gladiator 2.
You want to get entertained, let's get entertained. They don't say that like they say in the first movie.
They don't say that in Gladiator 2.
Okay,
No.
missed
I think
opportunity,
yes, they should have said "let's
frankly.
get entertained" for sure. 117 is huge. It's when you look at it's the biggest adaptation of a Broadway musical ever, biggest opening weekend. So it's beaten your Les Mis's and your Mel Brooks producers remake and all of these, a lifetime of Broadway shows that have been adapted into movies.
Rent,
Biggest opening weekend of all time. Rent, of course, of course.
Dix the musical, the
Bigger
great
than
Dix the
Dix the
musical.
musical. Yep. Um, so it's a giant number. And Ariana Grande, of course, is a super famous pop star and celebrity. She's hadn't been a movie star up to this point. So it did 117 without a traditional movie star. I mean, Cynthia Erivo has been in a lot of movies, Oscar nom, not
Not
a
a star.
movie star. It's not like this movie uh, um, starred Leo. It's starring two non-movie stars.
And Jeff Goldblum, I mean, everybody says that's my weird crush, but he ain't a butts in the seats.
Well, when you talk about the Pedro Pascal factor, that's a very big overlap. You know, middle-aged women who look at Jeff Goldblum and Pedro as their zaddy, may have chosen this weekend. They may have said, "Oh, it's going to be Pedro," and then when it came, when the rubber met the road, they said, "You know what? Actually, my zaddy is Jeff Goldblum."
Mm-hmm.
And Pedro's a zaddy on the rise, but Jeff Goldblum is a zaddy who's been
In
zaddy
good,
for
good
a while
standing.
now. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
he's the zaddy of choice for most like millennial women.
Yes. And I think that was a battle that was a little underreported this weekend.
The battle of the
And
zaddies.
the battle of the zaddies, and Goldblum won. And Pedro Pascal, he's got some work to do before he gets to Goldblum zaddy level. And I think he'll do that work. I think he'll put the work in.
He can get there.
He could get there. So, yeah, you don't want to undersell the 117 opening weekend because people were starting to get, could it do 200? Is it going to do Barbie numbers? All that.
Yeah.
117 is huge and should be only looked at as such, I think.
Should be applauded. Absolutely.
Yes. So let's start who are the biggest winners of this opening weekend? I mean, I do think this is a pretty giant feather in the cap for Ariana Grande.
Absolutely.
Because
Gaga does not have a hit this big.
Gaga does not have a
Madonna does not have a hit this big.
Really? Her documentary did not open to 117. That's what you're saying.
Truth or Dare did not open. It opened just under 100 million, I believe.
Okay. Even with Warren
Taylor
Beatty
Swift. Taylor Swift does not have a win this big. And don't that special presentation does not count. I'm talking about as an actor.
Her movie, The Eras Tour, the movie, You're right. It did not open to $117 million.
Yes,
So
it did
that
not.
movie did not. So I agree with. I'm sitting here agreeing with you. The Taylor Swift
Okay.
movie, the Eras Tour, the movie, did not open to 117. That Wicked
Harry
did.
Styles, which is something that
Mm-hmm.
Anthony D is for defending Dwayne Johnson to the end of time until his
Mm-hmm.
grave.
D'Alessandro.
D'Alessandro has said Harry Styles, not even close. You can't
No.
count the Star Fox cameo because even Eternals didn't do 117.
No. 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 That's the thing is Wicked and this 117. Or 114. 114. We keep saying 117. Right now the number
Oh,
keeps
I
saying
think the
114.
weekend. I think this weekend they were saying 117. The actuals are 114. Our
So
apologies.
this 114, it is bigger than barring Deadpool Wolverine and barring Guardians 3. It's bigger than what Marvel movies do now. That era of the Marvel movies opening to 150, that's dead. So
Mm-hmm.
Wicked is bigger than the Marvel movies we're getting. And I'll say it right here. It's bigger than the Marvel movies we're going to get next year. This 114 that Wicked just did will be bigger than the opening weekend of Captain America Brave New World. It will be bigger than Asterix Thunderbolts.
Thunderbolts
Well,
asterisk.
Thunderbolt asterisk. I think they'll move that asterisk around, over the next couple of months.
It'll be in the front. It'll be in the middle. Who knows?
Yeah. Yeah. It'll be Thunder asterisk bolts at some point. It's going to be a shit
Yeah.
show. But that's why you can't undersell this. Wicked's 114 is just bigger than what Marvel's going to do, barring its one or two marquee characters.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So huge for Ariana Grande. I mean, listen, I'd say big for her and Cynthia Erivo because their publicity tour got a lot of online chatter, a lot of people talking these last few weeks about them. And you know what? It was a success. Her holding Cynthia Erivo's little finger this past weekend and saying you're holding space for the song, it all led to dollars, or at least it was vindicated by dollars.
Yes. Yes. It is one of, but I think here's okay, and we've talked about this. Obviously, we say tweets aren't ticks, but somebody like Ariana Grande has such a fan base that is internet poisoned that right. Like there are fans that are internet psychos in the sense that they're constantly online.
Yeah.
And that leads to success. But not everybody can say that. Not every person, not every person who is in a movie has the coupling of always online plus will do something in real life. Like Ariana Grande fans will be psychos online, but also sell out her concerts.
Yes.
And that can't be said for every celebrity. So when we say tweets aren't ticks, a lot of times it's like Pedro Pascal, those sort of people who they'll say Zaddy, Zaddy, Zaddy. And then when the rubber meets the road, as you said, they won't actually leave their house.
Yes. They're waiting. A lot of those millennials who Pedro is my zaddy are waiting to see it on streaming. But Ariana Grande's fans, and when you say psycho, I mean, obviously you mean that in a positive
way.
Positive
in a positive way. Yeah.
Her fans are rabid. And of course, we mean rabid in a great way.
In a positive way.
Not just the dog way, but a positive rabidity. They are rabid online and then went and bought tickets to this movie.
They will take to the streets.
Yes. As opposed to some online fans who only take to the sheets, in that they put up a sheet and they watch stuff on streaming. They pull a little sheet up to their neck because they're cold. They're always cold, and they're on the couch and they watch streaming. But
well, no, I think they put sheets on their windows so they don't have to face the fact that the days changed into nights.
Oh, that's possible. There's a lot of use for those sheets. A lot of they find a lot of use for those sheets. But Ariana Grande's fans, they took to the streets. They went to see this movie, and I think that we're gonna see this movie continue to do Bafa Bobo in the coming weeks because these fans also wanted to see it in the best way possible. You know, AMC announced they're scheduling more of these specific sing-along versions. Of course,
Great.
Wicked is going to have Dolby screenings and IMAX screenings, and so I do think a lot of her fans want to make sure they see this not just in a tin box, you know, closet-sized movie theater. They want to be able to go to the sing-along, see the best screening. So I think that this is going to just continue to roll for the next month because people are going to want to see the good screenings of it.
Oh, and they want to prove that they're fans. They want to prove their fandom. They want to prove their bona fides by showing up and seeing other people being like,
Mm-hmm.
I was there.
Yes.
I was the one screaming the songs off key and recording it all on my iPad.
Yes. Yes.
They want to be seen. They want to be in videos where other people who are rabid psychos are filming them because they're more rabid and they're more of a psycho. That's what these Ariana Grande fans want. They want to be the most rabid psycho possible.
Yes.
And again, all positive.
All positive. And it's not just her fans, it is decades of Wicked fans who are in that same mindset. There's a lot of overlap, obviously, between the Ariana Grande fans and the Wicked fans, but it is a rabid, frothing fan base, and that's what equals ticks. That's what equals ticks. You don't want them to just tweet about it. They have to be rabid about it, and we saw that this weekend. And you got Wicked has just got 20 years, right? The show came out,
I believe
in
so.
2000. 20 years worth of that level of fan base, and they want to sing and they want to take pictures of each other and themselves singing, and they want to prove that they were there. These AMCs, you know, when you go to a concert or a big sporting event and they sell the I Was There shirts, AMC should be selling Wicked I Was There shirts, and say buy the proof. Go on this line and purchase the proof that you were there. I was there at Wicked. They would sell so many I Was There shirts.
My one fear with the Wicked showings, the sing-alongs, the screaming and all that stuff is theaters, they do make money off tickets, right? But they need concessions. Concessions are a big part of what they sell and what they need to sell in order to keep the lights on and be a thriving business. Are these rapid, psychotic, all positive, in a good way, Ariana Grande / Wicked super fans taking time to shove concessions down their gullets, to gulp down sodies, to put juji fruits in the back of their throats? Are they having enough time to do that? That is my fear, is that okay.
I love that you asked that.
Thank you.
And even though I love you living with a certain amount of fear, keeps you on your toes, I'm actually going to calm your fears right now.
Okay.
Because AMC just today announced that this was the highest domestic revenue in its 104-year history for a pre-Thanksgiving weekend, not just for ticket sales, but this number is counting admissions, food and beverage, and merchandise. Yes. So there is your answer. AMC did not just do Bafa Bobo in terms of selling tickets. They did it in terms of selling concessions. So these Wicked fans, and this also counts the Gladiator fanboys because it's the total sales. They came and they bought. They bought concessions, beverages, and merchandise. They came wallets open. They had their Apple Pay and their credit card on their phone, whatever it is that these kids use to sell. They came with a pocket full of Bitcoin and Dogecoin and, you know, whatever. They came with Ethereum. These kids came with just backpacks full of Ethereum.
My Bitcoin of choice, Juggalo bucks.
I don't know how. I would love a breakdown of the currencies. On the best, that's what we're pushing for. We always want transparency. I'd love to see AMC give a breakdown of what concessions they sold and what currency was used. Let's see the difference.
It's only good on Fago, though. You can only use it on Fago.
Well, I mean, that's a misstep. I don't think AMC sells Fago, so they probably don't take Juggalo bucks. Because what would be the point?
They do, and they do.
So, look, there's another. I'm looking through here. I think Odeon Cinemas recorded its single day revenue high for the year, and it does clarify that is admissions plus food and beverage on Saturday. So Odeon Cinemas on this past Saturday had its biggest revenue day ever. Oh, not ever, but of this year.
Yeah.
Saturday was the biggest one of the year. I think Regal somewhere in here did also say that they had a giant revenue weekend. So do not fear. These Wicked fans and the Gladiator fans, they came and they bought and they ate and drank this weekend at the theater.
This is so great. This is a way forward for theaters. And I do want to make a public service announcement. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
You're hearing so many people talking about, well, people who went to see Wicked or GLICKED and even maybe Bonhoeffer this weekend. Glicked-Offer, right? That's what we're going with here.
Yeah.
That they don't know how to behave in a movie theater. You're hearing a lot of this, right? You're hearing these horror stories about people doing things that they don't normally do in a theater. Mm-hmm. And I will say, calm down, bubble boys and girls and people. You cannot exist in a bubble. You cannot control the way people act in a theater. You can't, right? You should expect from a theater great sound, great vision, great concessions. These are things you can expect.
Great merch.
But great merch, great buckets. But when people are involved, there is a level of question mark that you need to deal with in your life. Okay? You need to deal with it because that is what makes the experience of going to the movies phenomenal. We did a live show. We were all over this country, this great country of ours. Every outhouse, shithouse, chicken shack, whatever, we played it. But most importantly, we played the greatest city in the world, New York City.
Yes.
We played, we hit another great, if tiny city, Boston. And then we played a horrible desert called LA. Okay. But everybody there was fun. It was fun. The people in that theater were great. The state is terrible, in a terrible condition, and I do not want to return. I will only return if I'm getting paid. But we did a rundown of our theater experiences in the great city we live in, New York City. And those experiences you can't have at home. And a lot of people would say maybe they're not positive experiences, but they are cinema experiences. And life is about that. So take that fact that you had somebody screaming the Wicked songs in your face, wow, recording the whole thing with an iPad, and tell that story. Because you know what story you'll have if you stream Wicked? I was on the couch with a sheet over my window because I didn't want to know the difference between day and night. And I shoved microwave popcorn down my gullet. That is not a story anybody wants to hear.
That's not a good story. And listen, different movies, I think, set different expectations. So there is a difference between tweens.
Conclave.
Yes. If tweens were if we went to Conclave and there were tweens filming it and singing, or if we went to, and I plan to see this, I think tomorrow, A Real Pain. And I went to A Real Pain and there was a tween singing the lyrics to a Wicked song. If someone was just singing Defying Gravity throughout A Real Pain, I would say this is not right. Inappropriate.
Inappropriate.
I'd look for the biggest security guard I could find, and I'd say, handle this roughly. Handle this roughly. But that's if I was at a real pain, a conclave, something like that.
Yes.
At Wicked, let the tweens sing. Let the tweens record. You know why? Because the tweens are buying tickets. AMC sold out of its Wicked popcorn buckets over the weekend.
Yes.
Sold out. So if they want to sing, then let them sing.
Yes, let
the
them
Ariana
sing.
Grande and Wicked fans sing, because they're spending their Ethereum, they're spending their Juggalo bucks, they're spending whatever
On
currency
Fago.
it is that tweens use. They spend it this weekend, so let them sing, let them film. Who gives an F? Who gives an F?
Who gives an S? Who gives an F?
We should start wrapping up here.
Yes.
So
we need to wrap it up.
So email us, theboboyspodcast@gmail.com. I think on the next episode, the weekend preview, the mailbag is starting to get engorged, so we have to lance it a bit. So we will lance that mailbag. So send us immediately any emails you have, theboboyspodcast@gmail.com. Follow us on social media at theboboyspod. Wanna BO VP of Interns, Christopher's killing it with the vertical videos on Instagram and on TikTok, Twitter X, phasing out as we speak. So follow at the BO Boys Pod on social media. We are YouTubers. Hey guys. On the YouTube channel, so much new stuff. The Boston show with Kirk Minahan, the entire show is up there on YouTube, so you could relive that or see that for the first time. Clayton, there is a extended director's cut of the New York City live show that just went up this weekend. That's got all the videos. It's got the New York City monologue has been added to that. So even if you watched it a few weeks ago, check out the New York City live show, extended director's cut on the BO Boys YouTube channel. Watch it on your TV, on your VR helmets, whatever it is you use to view video content. 5 stars at Apple Podcasts and the Substack. Subscribe now, because it is going to be going nuts very soon. Now that the tour's over, we're going to be writing up a storm on the Substack, so get excited for that. And, man, I think that is it. That is all I've got. That's all I got, Clayton.
Bad, you said it all, maybe too much. There's nothing left to be said.
Perfect. I got to leave anyway.
Except for, until next time.
We'll
smell you at the box office.